I'm surprised you haven't heard about me. You know, I got a bad reputation. I mean, sometimes I just go nuts like now.
Catch!
Get ready for a surprise! We're married.
Consider that a divorce.
Yes, it's User One Retro time again. Hello, thank you very much for joining me and welcome to another top 5. And this time it's going to be based on games based on movies. Now there are loads of movie based games out there, the likes of Claim, Ocean, who else? CRL, Sega as well, US Gold, literally loads of them. And I've managed to whittle it down to 5 of my favourite ones. Of course, there are going to be some honourable mentions as well as to ones that I do still find good, but they're in like a top 10, you know. But this is literally just the top 5. So take a look, and I hope you enjoy. Virgin Games' The Terminator was released on the Sega Mega Drive, Sega Game Gear and Master System in 1992 as a standard platform game. Your job was to take down Skynet and travel from the future to 1984 and protect Sarah Connor, just like in the original movie. This original version was actually quite boring, and in some cases too hard, with your only weapon being bombs in the future. However, it didn't look too bad and it didn't sound too bad either. It's just that the gameplay, I felt, was a little bit lacking. Fast forward a year later, and with the arrival of the Sega Mega CD add-on for the Mega Drive, Virgin Games overhauled the whole game, and I mean literally the whole game. Now this version added in redesigned levels, new graphics and sound effects, brand new music created by Tommy Tallarico, and gave you the use of a gun which you can upgrade as the levels go on. In between the levels, there is also digitized footage from the movie itself, which, although by today's standards is actually pretty awful, back in the day it was an awesome addition and it was a great sight to see. The other bonus is that the title screen and the credits actually come up exactly like in the original 1984 movie, which adds a little bit of authenticity to it, and also the main title music is adapted brilliantly again by Tommy Tallarico. It actually goes to show how much care has been put in this new version. This new version then, overall, is much better than the original. It's much more fun to play, it's better to look at, and the music is actually pretty damn awesome to listen to on its own. And as such, it's actually well deserving of a spot on my top 5 games based on the movies. If you haven't played it, definitely give it a go if you can try and get a hold of it. However, be warned that the copies on eBay go for astronomical amounts of money. So if you can find another way to play it, do so. It is well worth having a crack at. The movie Demolition Man came out in 1993 and has gone on to be known as one of Stallone's best movies. It has action and comedy in spades and is quite possibly one of my favourite movies ever. Starring alongside Stallone would be Sandra Bullock and Wesley Snipes as the bad guy Simon Phoenix. But gamers wouldn't be able to take on the exploits of Sergeant John Spartan until 1994 and 1995 for various versions that were made available. Taking the form of a platform shooter, it follows the film quite closely, while taking artistic license, of course. With levels varying from Los Angeles in 1993 to the History Museum in 2032, underneath what would be then called San Angeles, and also on top of a speeding train. For certain levels, the viewpoint changes from side-scrolling to top-down, with you having to rescue hostages on these levels. There are also various weapons to pick up, ranging from handguns to shotguns, and various types of thrown explosives like grenades and dynamite bundles. However, during these levels, a bonus is when you hit Simon Phoenix with bullets from your gun, and he leaves behind extra lives, which you will need. To give you a feel for the game, you can play through the first few levels on the easy setting, which is called calm. The only way to play the full game is to play on medium or hard. And this, I feel, is a great way to ease you into the game, to learn the mechanics and what you need to do, so that you know what to expect. The Mega Drive version itself is a great title, though I do feel that the music and the controls on the SNES version are actually far, far better, especially when the top-down levels come into play. However, I do find that the speech is much better on the Mega Drive version. Control differences aside, it doesn't mean it's any less fun to play. There is also a version on the Sega Mega CD and the 3DO, but I haven't really played these versions. It has been said though, that the 3DO version actually has quite a few different gameplay styles. Like one level can be a first-person shooter, and another level can be a one-on-one beat-em-up in the vein of Street Fighter. I haven't played them for comparison, but on the whole, I'd say that this game is one of Acclaim's better movie licenses.
We've lost contact with the colony on LV-426. Take Gorman and his team to investigate. We don't want anyone to learn that the company has deliberately infected colonists in order to smuggle alien specimens past ICC quarantine.
Yes, sir.
It's imperative that you get Ripley to trust you. She's familiar with the xenomorph, and we may need her help to bring one out alive.
Understood.
All right, understand this. The Bioweapons Division had orders to eliminate anyone who attempts to interfere. Obviously, they won't be aware of your team's mission.
Good luck, Ripley.
Alien Trilogy was released throughout 1996 for the Sega Saturn, Sony PlayStation and PC, being released a year and a half after the release date of the aforementioned consoles. Probe Software's first game after they were bought by Acclaim Software, and said at the time that it would be the first ever game to use 3D motion capture technology. Starting as Ripley, you have to journey through 30 levels, with 10 levels each encompassing the 3 Alien films, but with creative license taken with the overarching storyline. You start out with just your basic pistol, but along the way you'll find more weapons, including a flamethrower, shotgun,
I like to keep this handy for close encounters.
M41A pulse rifle, and the kick-ass smart gun as seen in Aliens. And you're able to get more ammo and health by finding pickups or by shooting the lighter coloured boxes found on each level. You have to be careful when you do this though, as some contain facehuggers eager to give you a loving face cuddle. Every level has different objectives, like powering up doors, finding keys and such. The controls are pretty good, considering that it doesn't support the analog controller that was released later for both the Saturn and the PlayStation 1, and the buttons don't take that long to get used to, which is an added bonus. The enemies vary throughout the game, and they range from facehuggers to alien drones, hosts for chestbursters, and eventually the alien queen. And one other thing to note is that after you have dispatched of either an alien or a facehugger, they are still lethal, as their acid blood is still left behind. The game oozes atmosphere with some good music, and the best thing is that they've used sound effects from the films for the pulse rifle and the alien screams. And there will be some instances when you're faced with lots of enemies and hardly any ammo, leading to you running around desperately trying to find some, and it's here that the game gets quite frenetic. On the whole, it's an Alien game that's right up there with Alien vs Predator 2 on the PC as one of the best examples of the license being put to good use. Even today, some 26 years later, it plays extremely well and will definitely scratch that itch if you're looking for something to play after completing Alien Isolation. Plus, it's quite cheap at the moment too, so there's no excuse not to go back to it or discover it for the first time if you've never played it before. Released in 1988 for various home computers, including the ZX Spectrum, Ocean had a great strategy when they acquired the rights for the game version of RoboCop from Orion Pictures. They actually sub-licensed said rights to Data East, so they could do the arcade game, which turned out to be pretty damn good. With Ocean's home version for the Spectrum, Amiga, ST464 and C64, they used the arcade version as a basis, while adding in extra bits to set it apart from its arcade parent. In this case, it took the form of a multi-genre game. Playing as the titular cyborg, your job is to clean the streets of old Detroit of all the scum, while going after the gang that turned your body into a bloody squishy mess. Starting off as a side-scrolling shooter, it takes in other genres like first-person target shooting and puzzle. The levels themselves start with you patrolling the streets, before going into an alleyway shootout, going into the drug factory, and doing face reconstructions. It's this variety that keeps the game from getting boring, and while the game is a tad on the tough side, it never seems unfair. The 16-bit versions would be a bit more graphically in line with the arcade version, although they didn't really play, look or sound as good. And while the Spectrum version is monochrome in colour, the graphics still hold up even today. To go along with the good graphics, the music by Jonathan Dunn is still good as well, with the title music even being used a couple of years later by appliance maker Ariston for their adverts. Add to this the digitised speech of RoboCop reciting the prime directives is still quite impressive, given that it came from a computer with only either 48K or 128K RAM. The sound effects, however, are reduced to just spot effects for when guns are fired, but even then they're not too bad, all considered. One other element is that you can pick up different types of ammo to help you in your robotic quest, and you can also pick up jars of baby food to help replenish lost energy, all of which is kept track of in the nice and tidy status bar at the bottom of the screen. It also shows how much of the differing ammo types you have left for your gun, with the icons being for standard, armor piercing, three-way fire and rifle, as well as how many lives you have left. And while it has to be said that even though the controls aren't as tight as they could be, it's still damn good fun to play nonetheless. Although, one small tip, when you get to the alleyway shootout, don't try and shoot the guy in the dick through the woman's dress like in the movie. It doesn't really work, and you'll end up losing energy. I tried it once and lost my last life. A lesson learned, I think.
I'm hit because I don't do anything.
And so, we come to our final game. Number 1. Numero uno. The Big Cheese. And so forth. And it's another game based on a Stallone movie. And this time, it's Rambo First Blood Part 2 on the ZX Spectrum. Now, the film saw Stallone's Rambo in prison after his little jaunt through Brian Dennehy's quiet little town in First Blood. Tasked to go and take pictures of the remaining POWs in Vietnam, he's told not to engage the enemy. Of course, after a while, he has to engage the enemy, and is finally captured. He escapes, and then finally brings those American troops home. Now, the game is no different. Sporting a top-down view, you have to go through the Vietnamese jungle armed with only a knife and grenades. With these, you have to find your equipment, and thus, once armed, you have to make your way towards the camp, blow the crap out the front gate, find the POWs and get them back to their helicopter pad to complete the game. Now, being one of Ocean's earliest efforts, the graphics are quite sparse, and so are the sound effects. However, they do their job amicably. The music, while not the best, is still a decent stab at a recreation of Jerry Goldsmith's main theme, as well as a recreation of the American national anthem, The Star-Spangled Banner. Although, With the relaxing graphics and sound, it definitely makes up for in gameplay. You're constantly attacked from the get-go, and the enemy, it never lets up. The other thing to note is the location of your equipment is random every time you play, so you're constantly looking in new places for it. So, while it might not look and sound like much on the Spectrum, it's still quite a fun little game to play, and I recommend, if you haven't done so already, and I don't know why not, check it out.